Rwby! Yeah, that's the name of this. Has anyone else had that now? No, I'm
taking the name. Taking
the name. I'm going to start reviewing Rwby, guys, because I like Rwby, and I'm going to try and get out on time-ish, as best as I can. Same with everything else. Yeah, so I'm going to talk about them on the weekends when they come out, because I'm a first member. But if you come in a few days or even wait a week, then they're available everywhere pretty much. On YouTube, on the Rooster Teeth website, on Crunchyroll, things like that. So that might be the best place to watch them. Anyway, Rwby Volume 5, Chapter 1. What was the name? Trip to Haven. I thought it was No Safe Haven. That's a different one. It's a different one. Anyway, it starts off with the crew of, with Team Ranger and Crow finally arriving in Haven. And I've got to say, I love the design of Haven so much. It's so cool. Like, I love the mountainside and like the eastern the inspirations for the design, like, of the houses and the clothes. I hope, like, from what I could tell from the trailer, they're not spending too long in Haven, but I at least want, like, one super cool fight in Haven. I really want that. It seems like a great idea. It's just gonna be, I always like mountain villages, and that's always seems like a cool idea, especially with the way they set it up with the waterfall. And like I said, I like the designs. If everyone got a couple new outfits from this and be like, hey, Haven design clothes for everyone, I'd be okay with that. I really would. It was just a bit, and basically we're not wasting any time. It's just kind of remind us what Haven's about, you know, kind of shady, quite shady, but still not too bad, I suppose. Like, it's full of, like, but so if you go to the lower levels, it's dodgy. Upper levels, it's solid. And they're going straight to the top because they're going to go speak to Lionheart. Then we cut to Weiss, and at first, okay, so with Weiss's story for this chapter, I feel like I think I know what's going to happen with her. So this whole, originally she was on the trip and she's heading straight over to Haven as well, because everyone's like, oh nice, she'll meet up with Rwby. I think she might still. I think if anyone's going to meet up from Team Rwby, I feel confident more about Rwby and Weiss than anything that they'll end up meeting up again. But it's just because, you know, with the huntsmen and the huntresses, they've all gone like, oh, we're going, like, you know, we need help, and the cargo bob was like, see ya. I think it's safe to say, at first I was like, well, why isn't Weiss going to help? And then later on I was thinking, well, she's probably going to help because she's, you know, because she's a huntress herself, and she's not going to let people die like that. So, and then I was trying to think, and then I looked at the opening as well, and it looked like she was riding on a train in the opening. So, what I think Weiss's story is going to be for this arc, well, for this part of the volume, is going to be her trip to Mistral, and it's going to be her, like, and we'll meet some new characters. Maybe a couple of old ones will show up too, but it seems to be very much, this is who they are kind of thing. Not this is who they are. What are you saying, Matt? Basically, I think Weiss is going to go help them, and then she's going to be on a trip to herself to Haven, but she's going to go, like, through different means. And my theory, my idea with this is mainly because I can see her journey being about, like, getting respect. So, think, Matt, think. Okay, so with Haven, it was reminded to us, like, back in when Crow was talking about the world of Remnant, that, you know, they're shady, but once you earn their respect, they'll have you back, that kind of thing. And the thing is with Weiss as well, is she is proper prim, and obviously this could be like a big chance for her to, like, grow as a character if she goes, like, into the dirtiest parts of Haven and earns their respect. And that could be a whole thing, and then that would allude back to Nicholas Schnee as well, because obviously with Nick, his whole thing was, as he founded the Schnee Dust Company, you know, he earned the respect of people, because not only would he run the business, but he'd lead the expeditions as well to the dust mines. People respect a leader who gets where they're coming from, and I think that might be Weiss's thing as well. She'll get there, she'll realise what's kind of going on, and this will affect her in the future. Like, she'll earn the respect of people, and then this will be like the thieves down there. Like, we've got her back. We'll look out for her. And I think that might be her story through this. And then the relationships with these kind of people will affect her in the future and will be useful in the future too. I think, yeah, that's my theory of what's going to happen with Weiss. Anyway, I feel like that's a solid. I feel like that's a good idea, Matt. Yeah. So then we cut back to Lionheart and Crow, and that was all right. And of course, Lionheart is based off the Cowardly Lion from Wizard of Oz, and we can see that we can see that from his personality. And here's the thing: so as we know, the finale, the last scene we really saw from Rwby, one of the last ones, was him meeting up with Dr. Watts, and who's one of the main bad guys, of course, and being like, "Oh, we're gonna have such a good partnership." And Salem's called him like an informant and like a source of information before. I have two minds, because it's true. He could. I don't think he's going to be bad. He's going to be bad, but not for like bad reasons. Just like Ironwood, you know. But then he might not be a bad guy at all. So let's talk about that. So obviously he was talking to Watts, and we know by the end of that conversation with Crow that he was, you know, Watts was listening in as well. But the problem is, look, Ozpin really trusts all the people. So like, obviously, because right, the Wizard of Oz, Crow's the Scarecrow, Ironwood is the Tin Man, and Lionheart is the Cowardly Lion. Now, sure. So as the Cowardly Lion, the Cowardly Lion's story was all about courage. So this could be his arc through the story, and this might be how Rwby ends up affecting him. Is, you know, just being like, hey, you've got to be brave and stand up at times. But I think Lionheart isn't necessarily doing. If he's a bad guy, I don't think he's doing it because, like, he's like, oh, Salem's going to win and there's no way to stop it. I think he's more like, no, I've got to protect my people. We lost a lot of people in the attack when Beacon happened. And that was a really good point as well, actually, when it was like, there was a lot of just, like, background information gave to us in that conversation. Of course, everyone saw Penny's death and everyone reacted, and of course it was full of despair and like this, like he literally said, you could feel it in the air. And of course, grim attacks came, and the problem is, of course, Crow probably finds it shady that he's already a bit suspicious, Crow is, because he's like, why is there no teachers here? There needs to be teachers here to guard the relic. So just before I talk about the relics and everything like that, I think it was really interesting. I feel like the only reason I say I feel like Lionheart's got a chance to be like, hey, I'm pulling one over on you, Salem, just because I think it's only because Ozpin trusted him a lot, and he did. And that might be like a plan they've come up with, and you know, just to fool everyone and be like, oh, and then to find out more about Salem. Only because he didn't seem too concerned, because apparently they knew about Cinder when Beacon attacked, but they still let the attack on Beacon happen, probably because they didn't think it was going to happen like that. But they knew about Cinder, and they knew about all of that. So maybe it was all part of this master plan Ozpin had to defeat Salem, possibly. It's the only thing I can really think of. Because they need the Spring Maiden. Maybe Lionheart was like, you know, maybe Lionheart, the moment they approached him, he went to Crow or to Ozpin and was like, these guys want me to join them. And then Crow was like, listen, use this opportunity, join them, and learn what you can about them. And this might be, and that could be a thing. It might be, because how else, this could be a good source of how they learnt about a lot of the stuff, like maybe with Salem and other things like that. And of course it's only kind of certain information they can learn, but it might be a point in the right direction. So, of course, that whole conversation was really interesting. We learnt a lot of stuff. I got some on my hair. Fabulous. Nope, too much forehead. So what I was saying, so we also learnt about the relics as well. So with the relics, we learned that each of the maidens can only access each of the relics. And it reminded me, it's a good thing I was watching the Twitch stream, because I completely forgot about the relics. Then we learned that each maiden has different access to each one. So, what was it? So, Winter Creation, Spring Knowledge, Summer Destruction, Fall Choice. Now, here's the thing. They specifically targeted the Fall Maiden, right? That's the maiden they wanted. Now, it's tough to say what choice is, but if it's up there with like the knowledge, creation, destruction, the very elements that create life, the elements that make up life, I don't know what choice is. So maybe choice is like, you know, complete control over people, for example. It's got to be something powerful to be up there with the rest of them. Or it could be like, you know, a world full of Grimm, or a world full of humans. You know, it could be something like that. It could be the choice to completely annihilate something, or completely choose like one thing over the other. It's difficult to say what's choice going to be, because the rest are kind of obvious. Creation, you know, you can create anything, destroy anything. Knowledge, the knowledge to know anything. Choice is the curious one for me more than anything. And we learned a bit about the Spring Maiden as well. She was recently, well, she wasn't recently. She used to be part of Haven Academy, and then she ended up, like, the responsibilities got too much, and she left. And that was a problem, obviously, because they lost track of the Spring Maiden. And we learned about when Crow was like, I know where the Spring Maiden is, and he basically informs us that, you know, Raven probably has the Spring Maiden. And of course, here's back to the Lionheart discussion. My main concern was it was only a small thing, but Lionheart was the one who tapped in, like, it was Crow's scroll, and he put it down the show, but Lionheart was like, boop, 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 and sent it, and like, shut it down. I'm slightly concerned he sent that to Watts. Because I think at some point, obviously it's going to come out, but this might be how, like, he might have sent, like, coordinates to Watts, because Watts was listening to that conversation anyway, but he was like, hey, here's the coordinates where the Spring Maiden is. Because they're going to want all the maidens. Obviously, the choice is great, like, choice is something to do with Salem's master plan, but knowledge as well, like, that's winning goal. And of course, they could do with knowledge, especially if they don't know how to beat Salem. Knowledge might be the key to defeating her. If they can get the Spring Maiden on their side. And then I was also thinking about, I'm just rattling on for ages, oh dear. I was just thinking about, you know, Raven as a character in general. Like, there was a thought that did go through my head, well, like, maybe the Spring Maiden's dead, and now Raven's the new Spring Maiden. Because that's not something we should give away easily. And then I did think maybe she's a villain. That's not right. Raven isn't a villain. Raven's more like an anti-hero more than anything. Like, she'll show up every now and again, but if it benefits her more than anything, because she, as far as we can tell, like, her goal is to defeat Salem too. So we also got that great moment. So, like, there were the little moments that made me laugh. The comedy wasn't too strong in this episode, to me personally, but there were some great moments that made me laugh. Of course, the best thing about this whole was Crow at the end. Drunk Crow was amazing. We'll get onto him in a bit, but another bit that made me laugh was when basically not Ozpin, what am I saying? Crow was like, listen, we need to get out there, we need to get him, and then Lionheart's, I agree, I'll get to the council, we'll talk to him we'll get it sorted in a few weeks. And then Crow was like, a few weeks? We don't have that time. They could be attacked, or they could move, we only get one shot at this, and they're like, you know, we'll go, me, you, these kids aren't pushovers. And then, like, just that moment where Nora and Rwby are just like, yeah, that made me laugh. I can't wait to see Lionheart fight as well. I don't know what he'll do, but here's the thing. Sure, he's probably a coward, but I like to think there's a different side to him as well, where he's like just brave and brutal, because Lion's in the name. I want him to just be this great fighter at the same time. And he's like, I'm not the fire I used to be. Kind of like a split personality kind of thing, you know. If you've read Seven Deadly Sins, like Escanor, he's like this now, but then he has like a twitch and he's like, I'm the best in the world. I'd love it if he had something like that. I'm really curious to see what his weapon is. Kind of on the Escanor line as well, like an axe would be great for him or something. Well, we've already got an axe with Paw. I don't know, some awesome weapon would be great for him. I'm very interested to see Lionheart fight, if he does fight. Please let him fight, guys, come on. Yeah. I'll talk about Blake and Yang, I suppose. Seeing as I've been going on about them for a bit. I'm trying to think, did I miss out on any points at all with Crow's conversation? I think I've covered pretty much everything important. There's obviously a lot of small stuff, and, you know, and it's just kind of talking about the world too. Obviously the world's really tense, because apparently there's a war going to break out. That's not the kind of vibe I'm getting from it. So, because Beacon's gone, like, who's going to start a war? Atlas isn't, because Ironwood's in charge of the army, and he's like, nope. We're not letting that happen. I can't see Haven doing it. Of course, if Haven decide to break out in war, that's their choice. It's just Atlas aren't going to start it, because unless someone takes over the military. As far as I can tell, obviously Ironwood was like, nope, we're not having a war. This is the worst time to have a war. Unless Vacuo does something. Vacuo might. I doubt it though. They just kind of do their own thing, and they're decent, because as we saw in it was a while ago, but like in the Great War World of Remnant, you know, they had Veil's backs, so they're decent. We can count on them. Crow was like, I like their style, so I like to think we can count on them. Anyway, to the story, Blake and Yang. Let's start with Blake, because she was the latest, so she was earlier. So I like that. That moment was great as well with Sun and Blake's dad, where they just storm through, like, we can't let them get away with this. And Blake's mom just like, well, I'm glad you guys finally agree on something. And then they're just like, and then Blake's dad forgot his name, put it below. Just like him already, please. Come on, he's not that bad a guy. Sure, he likes your daughter, but he's good. And the mom was like, I like him. I like Blake's mom and dad a lot. I'd like to see Blake's dad fight too. I'm sure Blake's mom can fight too, but I think just Blake's dad, he's a giant cat man. I bet he's got some awesome stuff, especially as he was leader of the White Fang. So we also learn that they went to confront Corsic and Fennec, I think their names are, about everything that Ilya did with the White Fang and the scroll, and they were like, oh, we're just ashamed of this. And then they didn't believe him. And Ilya showed up to Blake in a one-on-one conversation, and then she's trying to go like, Blake, don't do this. Like, she betrayed him as well, as we saw in the trailer, the character short. She betrayed him, and it wasn't looking good. I don't know what's going to happen with that, because I think the main thing they've got to do is try and convince the White Fang that Adam's bad, and that they need to trust them, and they will have some leeway because of course Blake's dad was one of the founders of the White. He was the founder of the White Fang, even, I believe. It's possible, definitely, that they can convince them. It's just going to be difficult because there's a new leader there, and Adam's obviously one of the top members. And a lot of people, a lot of the White Fang agree with him, so it's going to be difficult to convince the White Fang. It'll be like a White Fang civil war kind of thing. Especially if Blake wants to take it over one day. And of course she's like, please don't do this, Blake. You don't know what you're dealing with. And Blake's like, you're going to have to stop me if you want me to do it. And she's like, I know I will. And she disappears because obviously she basically makes it clear that she's going to go public with the scroll and all the information on the White Fang. And a lot of people aren't going to fully believe her because, especially in Menagerie, because it's a fauna city, a lot of the faunists look up to the White Fang and probably respect them too, because they're the heroes to them, you know, where they're mistreated, the White Fang step up and go, right, we need to be treated as equals. And of course they might not know everything. Some of them do, some of them don't. But obviously if they're mistreated and you go, hey, these guys are looking up for you, they're no good, people aren't going to believe it. And that's what I'm concerned about with Blake's story. It'll be interesting. We'll find out, I think we'll find out next week how that goes, of course. And then we had Yang. Yang is on her way on a road trip, and I didn't fully like that scene. So, it's not that it was bad intentional, but I think it was the punch more than anything that annoyed me. So it wasn't, annoyed is too strong a word. It was more because, you know, the guy started to hit on, and we knew what was going to happen, you know. He started hitting on Yang, and then, you know, he made the comment on her hair. The punch was fine, it was just how it was dealt with afterwards. Only because it was like, boo, 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 and it curved. I didn't like how that looked. Honestly, I think it would have, there's two ways, and this is probably me just nitpicking too much. I didn't like the punch that much. Only because I wish they could have dealt with, like, the aftermath of the punch differently. Either, what I think would have worked better, in my opinion, is like a smash cut. So, literally, you know, he goes to touch that, she turns red, just goes black, and it just fades to him, like, it just cuts to him outside, unconscious, on the floor, dealing with, like, you know, and the door's like, boo, 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 like, going really fast. Or even if he was going to fly around, I think it was just the up, down motion. And he looked too ragdolly, in my opinion. I think it might have been better if, like, he was more, erratic. That's a word, right? It's probably a word. Better Google it. I think it would have worked better. And then honestly, it's a bit cliche. Add some pinball noises. I think that might have worked better. Maybe, I think I'm nitpicking too much on that punch. I was just like, personally. But then we learn, I don't know who she's after. Well, so basically, Yang is in the area of Raven. And who knows what's going to happen with them. So obviously Yang has been wanting to meet Raven for a long time. But she also seems like she wants to head over and meet Rwby. I think, because especially in the character short, I kind of got the vibe that she was heading to meet Rwby because she's like, I've always got your back. And if Ruby's on her own and she doesn't know what's going on with her, I imagine she'd want to go and help her out. Of course, she wants to meet her mom, but I think she's concerned about her little sister too. But of course, the guy who she knocked out at the bar, I hope there's like some running gag with him. So obviously they have like the cabbages guy, like with the cabbages joke from Avatar in this with the shopkeep. I want them to have like a joke where he keeps getting his teeth knocked out. I don't know, that just make me laugh if like every now and again like he just gets more teeth knocked and more knocked out. I think that'd be really good. And then by the end of it he's just like nothing but gums or like the occasional tooth. But it'll be interesting to see what his relationship is, because he knows Raven. Also, just quickly, I like how we're going to probably learn more about Crow's backstory with Raven, of course, because, as they make clear, it's part of the Bromwen tribe, which is Crow's family. It'd be nice if we saw Ty. I don't think we're going to see him as much this season. Obviously his last season, because his whole role last season was to, you know, help Yang recover and become back, try and get back to who she was. In any case, I'll be interested to learn about Crow's backstory, because when Crow arrives at the Bromwen tribe, how they'll all react to him, whether they'll be like, oh, it's Crow! He's like, you know, he's one of the main children, one of the main leaders and one of the main people of the Bromwen tribe, or they're going to hate him, and it'll be really interesting to learn about Crow's backstory and his relationship with Raven too, because it's not the best. It's okay, but it's not the best. Yeah. And then, of course, we get like the return of Oscar and Ozpin, and Crow was incredible. The Drunkle's back, and I really liked it. It was, it's just the moment Oscar rolled up, and it was just, I just loved how tense it was. That was funny. And then like Nora was like, "Who's asking?" And you know, when he's like, "Is Ruby Rose here?" And he's like, "I think her uncle needs some help." He's like, "I found him! I did it!" And then I think it was just perfect. The timing on that was incredible. Just like those pauses, he was just like, "Here it comes." It was great. And then Ruby came out. I was like, "Can't a girl read the comics in peace?" And then like she's like, "Crow, did you get drunk again?" And he's like, "A little." Oh yeah, that was funny. That made me laugh a lot. And then of course we get the big reveal, and it ended with Oscar revealing that he's also Ozpin. I like that. I like the idea of Oscar and Ozpin. I do, because he's got a mentor role to grow, and he'll grow fairly quick, I assume, too, because I think Kerry said they want about like 10 to 12 volumes of Rwby, and he's on volume 5. I think he's got potential, especially with Ozpin there. I like it as like this kind of, obviously Kerry, I remember he's a big fan of Yu-Gi-Oh, so I think it'll be like that. I think it'll be like he's Yugi, and then you've got a Tem, which is Ozpin, and then maybe he can even take over and be like, and I'm like, oh, if they gave him a transformation sequence, that'd be credible. Credible. It would be credible. And then we got the intro too, and I really liked the intro. It didn't sound like Casey, but the music was good. I liked the visuals a lot. I liked it, especially at the beginning, where we got like them all changing with the flowers, when changing to petals even. I like that effect a lot. It was cool. It teased a lot of things that are going to happen. I'm not taking all of it to heart, though, is the only thing, because they did that with Volume 4 as well, like when Adam was fighting Blake, and that was more symbolism, I think, more than anything, but that doesn't mean stuff's going to happen, is the only thing. And then that was the first episode of Rwby. I liked it. Yeah, I did. Obviously, I have my small problems with it, but I can see where it's going, I think, and I like the direction it's going. Animation-wise, fine, not a problem with it. I think the real test is going to be when a fight happens, because that's always the best moment of Rwby, where like there's an awesome fight, and then Jeff and Casey kick it in with a track, and then like it's very good, and then there's a weapon that transforms into another weapon. It's always fun. Yeah, I'll be interested to see what goes on with everyone this season. I hope they throw a few plot twists in there. I want to see Weiss's giant ice knight, because it'd be cool. Get it? Because it's a nice pun. I think that's pretty much everything I've got to say. Thank you for watching. I will get these out on time now, only because I was at RTX over the weekend. If you like this video, give it a like. If you want to talk about Rwby, comment below, because I like talking about stuff, because I don't talk to anyone ever. And subscribe if you'd like to see more talking about Rwby, because I quite enjoyed just rattling on about Rwby then. It was nice. Yeah, so thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next weekend at some point. I'll try and get this out Saturday, Sunday. Cool. Thanks, guys.